All right. As more and more people are joining, you could check out some of these student quotes on the next slide. All right, Lena, you ready?
Hi, everyone. Great to see you today. It's wonderful to have so many of our stakeholders coming from different parts of the LGR world. So, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Lena Everhart, CEO of Let's Get Ready, for those who don't know me. And this is an investor update. So, really just an opportunity to share an update with some of our most dedicated and loyal partners, funders, and community members. It'll provide an intimate opportunity to share some of the successes of Let's Get Ready students and the strides we're making as a leader in the sector, thanks to your support. The highlights we share today would really not have happened without the investment of an incredible community of supporters, partners, staff, coaches, students, etc. So it's truly a team effort. This afternoon's agenda includes both qualitative and quantitative updates on the impact that we've all made possible together. One note of housekeeping: we appreciate those of you who submitted some questions when you RSVP'd. We will have time for Q&A at the end, so if you have questions throughout, please feel free to add them to the chat, and our chat moderator will collect them so we can answer them at the end. And any questions we don't get to, we'll certainly follow up individually. So, to get us started, 5 years ago, when I was appointed CEO, as you all know, the world changed in major ways in 2020. We faced what seemed like really insurmountable challenges, both as an organization, in terms of what students were grappling with, in terms of what our partners were grappling with. However, as our impact report shares, we've turned big challenges into bigger wins together. The community of supporters like you have continued to grow, creating a really powerful network of advocates who understand that investing in Let's Get Ready means investing in proven outcomes. Let me share what we've made possible together on the next slide. We now provide virtual near-peer mentoring to over 25,000 students nationwide in 48 states in high school and college. That's more than double the number of students we served just 5 years ago. But it's not just about enrollment numbers, it's about meaningful outcomes. 86% of Let's Get Ready students enroll in college, which is 25 percentage points higher than the national average. Our students graduate at a rate of 64%, which exceeds the national average for all students and is double the rate of their peers from similar backgrounds. Think about that for a moment. Students who face the greatest barriers to college success are not just meeting national averages, they're exceeding them. And at a total cost of less than $200 per student per year, LGR's program is drawing transformational outcomes that change lives and provide economic opportunity. While numbers and statistics are very important, the real impact is hearing from our team that is closest to the student experience. So I'm really thrilled to turn this over to Grace Bianchardi, our Chief Program Officer, as well as her team members, Cynthia Suarez and Vierna Johnson, to help us really understand the student experience.
Thanks, Lena. My name's Grace Bianchardi, Chief Program Officer here at Let's Get Ready. And the key to the kind of exponential program growth that Lena just mentioned has been to take an incredibly high quality, personalized near-peer mentorship program and to make it possible at that kind of scale at over 25,000 students and to not lose any of the intimacy or the impact. If we can go to the next slide. Not lose anything that makes our students, experience the kind of growth and the kind of support that they do. like what this student recently shared about their experience. I'll give you a minute to read their quote. This student really calling out a level of depth and support from their coach that made a meaningful difference for them. And every single one of our over 25,000 students has their own unique journey to and through college, their own worries, their own challenges, their own barriers that they face. And every single one of our students deserves to have that level of dedicated care and personalized support that that student's quote illustrated. And that's why in our model, every single one of our students is paired with their own near peer coach, a currently enrolled college student who is hired and trained by our team to provide critical reminders around finances, academics, social milestones, and just to be there for students when they need it. And successfully scaling that impact, and not just the enrollment number, but the impact takes an enormous amount of infrastructure behind it, from incredible supervision to training and curriculum. And this year we've made some really significant innovations and investments to not only meet the wider breadth of student needs that we're seeing, but also to provide an increasingly deeper and deeper support to each individual student. Um, Given that our students are college students, given that our coaches are college students, one of the questions we often get is how do we get them up to speed to learn what they need to be reliable, comprehensive coaching supports to students? We're lucky to have our training work here at Let's Get Ready led by our incredible Director of Curriculum and Training, Virna Johnson. Virna, I'd love it if you could share just a little bit about how your team has been deepening and evolving our coach training approach this past year to help our coaches provide that kind of personalized support to their students.
Yeah, thanks so much, Grace. So, as you mentioned, because our coaches are college students themselves, they're incredible at things like being approachable and relatable to students, providing encouragement, sharing stories of how to successfully navigate college challenges. Um, but because they're first-time professionals, it's also really important that we provide management support and ongoing professional development to really help them understand different content areas. So this year we really invested in taking our coach training to the next level by building a custom learning management system for ongoing coach learning. This content takes the format of asynchronous micro courses that we are assigning to coaches over the course of the year. It's allowed us to create learning pathways that are based on individual coach caseloads and the students that they're working with. Our focus in this has been to create courses that are preparing coaches to build individualized and personalized relationships with each of their students. An example course on this area would be something like using open-ended questions to elevate coaching. And then the other area of our focus has been how to support specific subpopulations of students with more depth and rigor. Courses like types of neurodivergence or LGBTQIA inclusion. And coaches are really letting us know that they are responding to this. So they've told us that the content format is resonating because it's engaging, they're clicking around, there's lots of real life student and coach examples that are included in the content. There's opportunities for them to apply what they're learning in reflection exercises and knowledge checks to be sure they're understanding the content. And then each coach's supervisor is able to track their progress and then have really rich conversations about the content once the coach has completed that course.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Virna, for sharing, and thanks for your work. This new tool is making a difference already in the training support for coaches, and I'm really grateful for everything you've done this year around that. What we've learned is that even with great training, even with incredible supervision that coaches receive from their full-time program managers, some students are facing challenges that require more expert support to overcome. They are facing barriers that go beyond what a coach and a program manager, can provide support around, or they're having trouble accessing the resources that have been shared with them. And as our population has been growing over the past few years, our need for the kind of targeted, escalated support has been growing. And last year, this past year, we were really excited to be able to hire our first director of student support, Cynthia Suarez, into a brand new role that is really designed to make sure that our team of near peer coaches has a staff member who's prepared to go the extra mile with every single student who is identified as needing that extra boost of support. Cynthia, I'd love for you to share just a little bit with us all about what your priorities have been for the past 6 months and what you've been learning in your new role.
Of course. Thank you, Grace. And hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. As Grace said, I'm in a role that's new for Let's Get Ready. I've been in this position and with Let's Get Ready for 6 months, and it's been a great 6 months so far. I've learned so much about the program. And as we were hearing in depth through what Virna just shared, there's so much incredible work that our coaches are doing in partnership with their program managers, with their students. And so I'm coming at a time, honestly, that it couldn't be more important to build capacity that exists in a role like mine to ensure that we're meeting the evolving needs of students that are in college today. We know that students in college are facing increasingly complex challenges. Institutional environments are shifting through higher education policy shifts that we're seeing, which have only intensified the challenges that students are facing as they are journeying towards their college goals. In fact, a national survey has found that 40% of college students are saying that their mental health is negatively impacting their academic journeys. So I think this context definitely shows us that being ready to provide students with individualized care and support when they need it is really more important than ever. And so now with any identification or suspicion that we have a student who is facing a particularly significant challenge, we now have capacity to support them. So whether that's a mental health challenge, academic challenge, safety, financial, you name it, the coaches and their program managers can now escalate that student to me for additional support. And when a student is escalated to me, I can take one of two routes. Either I connect directly with the student to assess the situation with the student, assess their needs, and spend whatever time is necessary to make sure that we are identifying the right resources to support them, whether that's at their school and or in their community. Another route I might take is providing those guidance and resources directly to the coach or the program manager that supervises that coach so that they can actually provide that deeper, more personalized support to the student themselves. As Virna, I think, gave us context so beautifully, like our coaches and their supervisors, the program managers are so incredibly skilled and strong in what they do that sometimes all that's needed is that collaborative problem-solving space to deepen and strengthen the already incredible support that they are providing to students. So I do want to offer an example because in these first 6 months, I have already provided direct support to students across our programs. And so recently, as an example, a student was escalated to me for additional support because her coach learned she wasn't able to make it to class after a really distressing incident on her way to class during her commute. And the program team, when they notified me of the situation, activated me to check in directly with the student, ensuring their immediate safety first and foremost. But over a series of conversation, I was able to work with the student and her mom to come up with a support plan, not just to address those immediate safety needs that she had, but also to identify resources for a longer-term mental health support that we identified was needed, and ultimately able to connect them to resources both at her school and in their community to follow up with. By our third conversation, the student was re-engaged. She was really excited talking about her college list and asking for help with her applications. and her decision-making processes on which schools to apply to. So this one incident and all of the incidents thus far that I've had have just reminded me of how important this is, but also what's possible when we're meeting students with the right support when they need it. And I'll just close by saying that Let's Get Ready, I think we understand that every student's journey is unique, uniquely theirs, and some students are going to need deeper support to navigate the challenges that they face as they journey towards their college goals. So I'm really grateful to be part of a team that recognizes this and has really prioritized building that internal capacity. Thank you all.
Thank you, Cynthia. Near peer coaching is such an incredibly impactful intervention. And both of your work really highlights what it takes behind the scenes to make sure that the stories and the empathy and the skills that near peers bring, that they are amplified with the kind of training and support that they need to provide really deep, individualized care and support. So thank you for being part of that support system. We're going to pass the mic to Dennis.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Grace, Verna, and Cynthia, for reminding us of how important this work is. Something that just gets me very fired up when we start thinking about what the growth and projections for growth look like for Let's Get Ready is thinking about how our program team has really cracked the code on how to make a virtual program even more humane and customized to the individualized experiences of our students. So thanks for sharing all of that brilliant insight. What you just heard remarks to how sophisticated and culturally responsive our program is and how that is related to the way that we support students. It's exactly because of what Verna, Grace, and Cynthia shared about the significant innovations and investments made in deeper support for students and for coaches and the individual relationships, customizing care and coaching and how humane that has to be, that guides us in our phase 1 of our strategic plan, which is really focused on learning. I want to orient you to two numbers, in a sense, or whatever, these two X's that are on the screen right now. One is our doubling of our student enrollment by 2028. That's about 50,000 students, which is a significant amount of growth for the organization. As you heard earlier, we're currently at 25,000 students, and we are excited about being able to double that growth over the next few years. But what's even more important about that is that the needs for our students will only increase, and the ways that we have to be able to support and guide students through them navigating to get a college degree will only increase as well, which means that our revenue has to increase as well. So we will continue to work with our partners, and so many of our partners and colleagues on this call right now to think about revenue growth that has also doubled in 2x from $4 million to $8 million by the year 2028. And these are exciting figures for us. It's definitely a journey. It's definitely something that is bold, but it's grounded in our proven impact. All the things that you just heard from Verna, Grace, and Cynthia are just parts of the work that's done that's evolving our way of thinking. And we're already on track to be able to move in this direction. Within the next 6 months, we anticipate serving more than 30,000 students, surpassing our original projections. And this is not just growth for growth's sake. It's growth with thinking about strategy, sustainability, and systemic impact at the core of it. And we remain committed to our non-negotiables, which is that we will continue to serve students from 11th grade through college graduation. We will continue to use near-peer coaches who are currently enrolled in college. And we will continue to focus on the ultimate goal, which is to obtain a college degree. So with all of this, as we continue to grow and as we go through this learning phase in phase 1 of our strategic plan, you can expect that Let's Get Ready will remain dedicated to the work that you've known up until this point. I want to turn it over to Lena to talk a little bit about what we'll be doing in this coming fiscal year as well. Lena? Lena, you're on mute.
I was on mute. Thank you so much, Dennis. As you all can see, we do have very ambitious goals, but these are intentionally set to meet the increasing demand for our services. And through the incredible partners we have and the intentional, thoughtful, really data-driven work that you heard about from the program team, we know that meeting these goals is both feasible and responsible. Among other initiatives, I'd like to highlight 3 really core and catalytic partnerships that really help help contribute to this growth, but also help sort of provide examples for what we see the potential of the work being going forward. Each of these partnerships is designed to be transformative for the students that will be served through those pipelines, but also as a model for sustainable and systemic change. First, we have our partnership, our system-wide Connecticut State College and Universities Initiative. So this is a group of 6 public colleges and universities across the state of Connecticut. And we've launched an initiative to offer Let's Get Ready's near-peer mentoring to first-year students across the system. We've now officially surpassed 3,000 students enrolled and expect to reach 10,000 students served annually through this pipeline by 2028. In Maine, you see here the University of Maine system. We're currently entering our 3rd full academic year of partnership with UMaine Early College. We're serving over 6,000 students currently who represent all 16 counties across the state of Maine. So as students sign up for dual enrollment classes while they're in high school in 11th and 12th grade, they're automatically enrolled into Let's Get Ready's program as well. So they get coaching throughout their time in high school and then subsequently all the way to college graduation, regardless of where they end up matriculating for college. Our objective is to grow and deepen this partnership and to serve up to 11,000 students annually through this pipeline by 2028. Lastly, we've launched a groundbreaking research study in partnership with a research team called Behavior Change for Good, which is coming out of UPenn's Wharton School. They're measuring the impact of 8 different interventions on student success and retention in their first year of college. This randomized control trial will involve over 120,000 students nationwide. But our participation means that we'll be adding 10,000 students to our roster over the next year at 33 universities across the West, the Southwest, the Midwest. And this will allow us to generate really rigorous evidence about our model's impact, not just to support our own learning and our own evolution in terms of program, but will also benefit the entire higher ed sector. And we need to note that as we move into this next phase of growth, these goals were already ambitious, our work was already necessary. But as we move into next year, we know we're operating in a rapidly changing landscape that demands both urgency and innovation. The need is very real, it's increasing. The uncertainty and volatility is also increasing and is very real. The challenges are stark. We know that 85% of good jobs over the next few years will require post-secondary education. But 40 million adults in the country have started college but have not completed with a degree or credential. We know that college degree attainment is still significantly correlated to the income status of the student. Students face mounting pressures related to the economy, to questions about the ROI of college, and increasingly complex pathways to degree completion. And now these complexities are layered with new and significant questions about the ways their immigration status might impact their experience, about their sense of belonging and safety on campus, whether they have the access to the financial resources they rely on. Similarly, our partners and our peers are facing real challenges. The landscape of public funding is in flux. The norms and values in the sectors are being challenged. But here's from what we know from 25 years of experience and from serving students over the last 5 years, which was also very volatile and also very uncertain. In moments of significant change and uncertainty, students don't need just more support. They need different support. They need continuous support. They need evolving support. They need support that's equal to the moment. They need mentors who really understand their lived experience, whose guidance meets them where they are, and they need systems that are flexible enough to adapt to their changing needs. So what really positions Let's Get Ready uniquely in this landscape is our ability to be place-based but not place-constrained. We work with local communities and institutions to deliver consistent high-quality support virtually at a very low cost and with all the flexibility and customization you heard about built in. We can serve a student whether they're in rural Maine or in an urban metropolis like New York, whether they transfer schools, whether they pause their education and then need to be re-engaged. Our use of modern technologies supplement our founding and cornerstone ethos, which is to be student and relationship centered in all we do. Let's Get Ready's model is possible through the power of the student and coach relationship, as well as making sure that students have access to the information they need that reflects the how, the why, the where they need and receive support best. Most importantly, we're really proving what's possible. At a time when it feels like there are more questions and answers about education in general, about higher education specifically, we're demonstrating that with the right model, with the right support, students from all backgrounds can really not just access college, but really thrive in college and graduate successfully. I'd love to open up now for a Q&A. We have some questions that came in with the RSVPs. And actually, some of these I'm going to send over to Grace because they really have to do with our program. I'd love, Grace, if you could talk a little bit about how you measure the success of coaching relationships outside of the enrollment rates and the graduation rates.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, graduating from college is an incredibly important milestone for students. It is also an incredible predictor of future economic mobility, long-term economic mobility, long-term access. Oh, was I on mute? Okay, we're good. All right. It's not a Zoom call if at least two people aren't caught on mute at some point. So obviously, while we're focused on college enrollment and graduation, we're focused on those outcomes because of their impact on long-term access and long-term choices for students. And so, yes, we're super laser focused on that, but that's because it unlocks doors for our students. In addition to the sort of enrollment and graduation and long-term economic mobility, it's also how students experience this journey that matters to us as well. And that feels like an important outcome. Virna, you and I talk a lot about like making sure that students graduate whole, that it's not just that they make it to the finish line, but that they make it to the finish line feeling empowered, feeling less lonely, feeling less worried, feeling like they have more access to support. So, Lena, those are the ways that I think about not just the kind of medium-term outcome of college graduation, but also the sort of the impact on that longer term for them.
That's great. Thank you, Grace. Dennis, I'd love to kick this one to you. What lessons from our partnerships with Maine and Connecticut would you say have been most salient for us, and also which you think can be applied to partnerships with other state systems?
Yeah, no, I think first and foremost, these are systemic partnerships. They're working within complex systems that have multiple layers inside of them. And our goal is to be an intervention that helps student voice to rise. And I think that that's something that's critical inside of our work within these systems, particularly within inside of CSCU, Connecticut State Colleges and Universities, and also in the University of Maine system as well. I think we're learning great things about dual enrollment because of the scale in which the UMaine system works, about how effective it can be to be able to make that transition from high school into college and ultimately to a college degree. Some more quantitative things are institutional impacts on college retention have exceeded 10%, especially among students who are Pell eligible among those systems. And we're also recognizing that the model being human-centered, but also virtual, is something that is really compelling for us to be able to work through those systems. So when you're working through a big system and we're able to work through the scalable model that allows us to be able to have students from across the country descend into an area and be able to support students with these interventions that we're offering, we're allowed to be able to navigate with minimal confusion, being very nimble and being very supportive to the environment as it exists. So that's something that's really helpful. And I think Lena mentioned earlier about being place-based and not place-constrained, and that's another benefit of our work inside of some of these systems as well too. We've now grown to, I think, more than 3,000, possibly 4,000 students in Connecticut now, within our first full year of doing programming there, which is exciting for us, and it's slowly growing to our goal of reaching 10,000 students. And in being able to do that, we have to be able to think about how do we not only navigate students being able to get the assets that they need to be able to be successful and attain their degrees, but we also have to figure out what are the barriers and holdups that prevent them from doing that. And having an environment that allows student voice to rise, one thing, but also allows us to bring lots of different advisement to this, and using the benefits of our curriculum development for our coaches so that they know how to navigate questions that students are asking. We're able to raise up individualized questions that may be barriers for large amounts of students, and make those to be advancements for the way that students are able to learn throughout systems. So those are some of the things that I think are really healthy and benefits to the way that we work within those systems too.
Thanks, Dennis. There's another question which I'll seek to answer, but then we'll welcome anyone else on the panelist side to jump in as well. What do you see as the biggest challenges as you seek to scale? And I can talk a little bit about the operational challenges. I think on some level, it's all contained in the word balance. As we're thinking about scaling, we have to balance an incredible amount of momentum and opportunity and need with an incredible amount of risk and uncertainty and volatility at the moment. And so knowing how to be responsive to both of those things, what's the right pace of responsive to each of those things, I think is a great challenge. I think also a balance of national energy and national funding and national presence, and then regional funding and regional presence and regional relationship building. They're both critically important because of our model, because of our ambition. And so making sure that we have the infrastructure internally to really sort of fully hold both of those key stakeholder groups and the key knowledge we need of the national scale and sector, and then sort of the regional needs of our partners. And I also just think balancing the program, right, and all the needs of the program, deepening the program, the ways that you've heard us going sort of deeper, more responsive, evolving, innovative, et cetera, data-driven. All of those things take an incredible amount of investment. And those are the things that, are really exciting to hear about. There's a lot of other areas that require a lot of investment as we scale, thinking about data privacy, our policies around technology, our ability to do proper financial modeling and sort of financial projections, et cetera. So there's a lot of sort of back office, if you will, needs and areas of key investment that will be really necessary as we grow. And so balancing the needs of program and also sort of the operations, the administrative, the back office. So balance is my word for our challenge at the moment. But again, would love to open it up to anyone else on the call to weigh in.
Lena, I would just add that I think another big part of this too is the goals are not just ambitious on Let's Get Ready's part. They're also indicative of like what's happening across the sector with students across the country. So a lot of things that we see are not just about Let's Get Ready wanting to grow and wanting to be able to, raise more money just for the sake of doing it. As I mentioned earlier, growth for the sake of growth. It's also very important to note that students are not backing down from this moment. There are so many challenges happening across the country that that in some ways can limit students being able to reach. And we see a lot of things about enrollment declines and other things too. But there's also a steady incline of students that are continuing to want to find more resources, that are looking for more opportunities, and being prepared not only to answer to what the natural, evolution of scale would be is one thing, but it's also about being able to answer questions that come up organically just because the world is constantly changing and students are constantly navigating it with a lot of will and determination at the same time too. So I would add it's the balance, and there's also this other area of the world is constantly evolving. And as long as students are in it, we're in it with them. And that becomes something that we constantly have to think about from a funding mechanism, of course, but also just even strategically from programmatic, as you heard, with the work that we do evolving with Cynthia and Werner's work and throughout the program team as well.
I would just add to Dennis, your point, that evolution is happening fast, and there's so much changing in terms of the technology available and what is what's vying for students' attention. And so our learning has to be at the pace of that evolution and that change in the field. Staying ahead, and the benefit that we have is we have 25,000 plus students, and then all of the coaches. As long as we're continuing to invest in learning from them, asking them the right questions, like, we can continue to stay ahead of what their needs are and make sure that we're designing for those needs as they evolve. But it's a real challenge, and staying ahead of that takes an incredible amount of strategy and investment as well.
Thank you, Grace and Dennis. With no other questions coming through the chat, I'm going to turn it over to our new VP of Development, Brianna Quinn, who, by the way, organized this whole webinar and put it together. So thank you, Brianna, and welcome to Let's Get Ready.
It is an honor to be a part of the Let's Get Ready team. I am just about 4.5 months in and have enjoyed every day that I have been able to work alongside so many talented people. As we close today's session, I want to center on really the theme of today, which was turning big challenges into bigger wins. And that challenge is clear. We know that educational inequity persists, college costs are continuing to rise, and too many talented students are lacking the support that they need to succeed. These are big challenges that demand big solutions, but we know that the wins are even bigger. Every LGR student who enrolls in college when statistics said they wouldn't, every graduate who breaks a generational cycle, every family whose trajectory changes because of the support you made possible, it's your partnership that makes these wins possible. And it's your continued partnership that will allow us to scale these wins. And so there are multiple ways for you to stay engaged with LGR. We are asking of your time. Stay engaged with our work, attend future updates, and help us connect with potential partners who share our vision. We're asking for your talent. Share your expertise, make introductions, and help us navigate these challenges in areas where you have the knowledge and expertise. We're asking for your testimonial. Share your story, advocate for our approach, and help us build a community of supporters who believe in what's possible, because we refuse to accept in education and equity as a norm. Finally, we're asking for your treasure. Your financial investment directly translates to student success, and we have a very efficient model, which means every dollar has maximum impact. Thank you for your time, for giving of your time today. We look forward to seeing you soon.